right, everybody. Want to welcome everybody to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Oh, let's see. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. And as you can tell, I'm a little confused because I'm in a remote location away from home taking care of my mom. So I'm doing this by iPhone, so hopefully it's going to work out. Gary Kendrick, how are you doing tonight?
Pretty good, Billy. Hi, everybody. Glad to see everybody on there. We got Buttworm on this evening and Tennessee Cherokee so far.
All right, good deal. That's our two dedicated listeners right there.
They're struggling for first place.
And there's Digger Dog, buddy. I have not seen you in years, and I'm so happy to see you back. Glad to see you. He actually messaged me, and I saw him on the message. And I was like, "Oh man, there he is. He's back." But my understanding, he's under some repairs, like all of us are, Gary. You know, every now and then it's like our car has to have a repair. Sometimes our bodies have to have a repair too.
Oh yeah, I understand. I've had more replacement parts than I care to mention.
Exactly. Oh, cool. Very cool, Tennessee. So, yeah, anyway, just to let you guys know what happened tonight. So, we had Craig Woolheater scheduled to come on. They are having flash floods and power outages in that part of Texas. He actually was sitting in his car charging his phone, sent me a message, and sent me a video. I said, yeah, it's looking pretty rough there, Craig. I mean, you can see water on the streets, and he's sitting in his car charging his phone. So, we'll get him on next Monday. So we thought that we'd at least come on and tell you guys that. But we also don't mind having a show, you know, and this could be one of those shows where it's, you know, you guys want to, you know, discuss something in the chat, and, or if one of you, you know, want to come into the show and have some kind of round table discussion, that'll work too. Whatever works for everybody.
That's right. And I just want to say, you know, our thoughts and our prayers are going out to Craig Woolheater right now. I hope, you know, everything's okay. I hope, you know, they don't have too much damage. And anytime something like that happens, that's a bad deal.
Yeah. Yeah, Kelly's down there too, Kelly. I guess you must still have power unless you're on your phone.
Yeah. She said Texas is going to float away.
Well, you know, it happened. I tell you, this has been a strange year with weather.
It has
a lot of deadly weather coming across the United States this year. So
I know here in Southwest Virginia, where I live at, the weather pattern has really changed. We've got a lot more severe storms than we normally do.
Yeah, it's pretty rough sometimes. But let me put our little ticker up there just so people see that, in case anybody wants to join in there. But yeah, I figure we can have some discussions about something. This happened a few weeks ago when Henry May was having storms.
Yes,
and
sir.
We ended up having a nice little round table discussion with Jay Fritz and Tennessee, yeah. So that's right, Digger. It does come in cycles, for sure. So, yep. So anyway, here where I'm at, I haven't been getting too much sleep, so it's probably why I look like I just woke up from like a zombie or something.
Well, it's always hard whenever you're not home. I know that.
Yeah.
Kelly says she thinks they have more rain coming their way.
I wouldn't doubt it. You guys have been getting hit, you know, with some weather this year.
Yeah, down south, it's been pretty rough so far.
Yeah.
Pretty rough so far.
Anyway, I don't know if you can see back here behind my head, like my pink treadmill back here.
Let's see that.
Pink treadmill. Got my uncle is a big motorcycle buff. So if anything motorcycle, he's got it. So he's got all kinds of stuff. Here
I think my nephew here has something he'd like to say.
All right.
You want to hop up there, bud? Go ahead, tell him.
How you doing?
Say hi, Moo.
Good.
You got some folks watching you there.
Yeah, this is my buddy Maddox.
All right. Good to see you, Maddox. There you go. I'll show you all the real good stuff now. So he's got everything in this garage. There's his motorcycle. That's an old. I think it's either a '97 or a '98 Heritage.
Buttworm says, "Hey, Maddox."
He's got some old refrigerators. He's got all kinds of stuff in here. But
them old refrigerators don't die.
Oh, I know. But
I think I gave, and it's been close to 30 years ago, my uncle a 1951 model refrigerator, and it is still running.
Wow. Yeah, we brought her here because she lives in a colonial, so everything's like 15 steps.
Oh yeah.
So bringing her here, I was able to. Everything is on ground level. So.
All right, hop down. Y'all get back to the table. Bye.
Bye.
What are we gonna say? It's time to what?
It's Squatchy.
That's right.
That's right.
Squatchy.
All right,
That's
y'all
right.
go on. Love you.
All right. Oh, I forgot coming here.
Tennessee says that they are. See if I can get this to show. Oh Lord.
You'll figure it out. Gary.
Talladega, is that right? Talladega
National Forest.
I have no clue where that's at.
Talladega National Forest.
My wife says she thinks that's Alabama.
So Gary, I was listening to Steve Cole's show last night, and Buttworm let us all know where he gets his chat name from.
Okay.
Go ahead and type it in there again, Buttworm, so that Gary can see how you got your name. It was funny. Watch her. You ain't gonna put it in there now.
No, he just said LMA.
Yeah, we all laughed when he told us.
Well, for anybody that's in the chat, if anybody has any new sightings or anything they want to talk about,
yep, just let us know. There it is, Gary.
see if I can get that up. My wife calls me this because I'm all up her butt about stuff.
That's how you
That's how you get black eyes too.
yeah, right. Yeah, very, very easily get a black eye. Oh man. Yeah, I didn't see Jay in here yet. Trying to think what we could talk about tonight. Everything's kind of out of my routine tonight.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Poor Gary, I know he had like a whole list of questions for Craig, but that's all right. You can save it. Oh, Digger Dog said he found some interesting structures last week.
Still going over my video.
What area was you searching, Digger, without an exact location? Okay, Northern California. Got it.
Sweet.
That's a good place to be. Lots of stuff going on up that way.
I know years ago, Mendocino County, he says.
Yep.
Been a long time since I've been in California, but I was in Southern California.
Me too.
Yeah,
I was the one and only time I ever went to California. I went down to Long Beach not too long ago.
I was
for a business
stationed
meeting.
out there on Pendleton, so I was all up and
Okay.
down the California coast. We used to go to called the Fresno Safari. It was an archery tournament that they had up there. It was at one time the world's largest outdoor archery tournament.
Oh, nice.
And we used to go up there and shoot that, and that was actually quite a big deal.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Wicked Dogs had scene 4 and photoed 41.
Scene 4 what? Digger, are you talking about creatures? Because that would be a record, I would think.
Would be for me. One about did me in.
Oh my goodness.
That is awesome.
I hope you do have something on some videos.
Yeah, me too. That would be outstanding.
Hey, Mick. Good to see you. I kind
Does
of
he
told
come in
everybody
good?
since there's some new folks coming in here, just let everybody know. Craig is having some flash floods and some power outages down there in Texas. So we've rescheduled him for next Monday. And then, of course, I'm kind of out of my element anyway because I'm over at my uncle's taking care of my mom. She was in the hospital, had emergency gallbladder removal, and then came down with congestive heart failure and stage 4 kidney disease.
It's tough.
Yeah.
That is
She's
tough.
trying to get used to this medicine. She's not feeling good, not getting around too good. So,
The kids just chimed in there.
yep, there you go.
Well, I've got a quick question for everybody that's in the comments in the chat tonight. Where do you think, and this would be a good question for Digger, where do you think is the best habitat to see these creatures at?
Yeah, so do I, Mick. She's weak.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. Digger Dog says the last one was a kid stomping maybe 6 feet and probably 400 pounds at the footsteps on digital. Wow.
Cool. So, Digger, when you're out there and you're doing your recordings on digital, are you using a parabolic mic as the recording device into your recorder, or are you just using just a regular recorder? Kelly said creeks and woods, Gary.
Creeks and Woods, that's two of my favorites right there.
Uh-huh.
I'm currently down at the campground. Digger says mountains and water, and giving them the advantage. Let's
Yep,
see what
there you go, Mick.
the best habitat. Amen. I'm 100% with that. I know growing up here, I live in Dixon County, Virginia, and we are right on the bottom. Well, we're far west Virginia. I live close to Tennessee and Kentucky and West Virginia. And Digger says he uses a
Transcam recorder.
cam recorder. Okay.
Okay, good.
But growing up here as a kid, to the food source that they was talking about, Mike was talking about. Growing up, there was no deer here. They'd all been hunted out. You would see a turkey every now and then. Things like that. You didn't see much. A bobcat maybe every now and then. No bears.
Yeah.
And when I came back from my military service in 1994, the county was covered in deer. That's probably one of the greatest success stories that we've had as far as animals go. But now we're actually building up. We have a huge bear population that's building here. Deer. We're actually getting some elk in here. They've kind of transplanted themselves from Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
They moved in here. And there was a few sightings years ago in this county. Nobody really talked about it because it was kind of a taboo thing back then.
Yeah.
And with the increase of deer and the other animals and things here, and of course, people are more willing to talk about it now because of so many shows like this one and other podcasts and TV shows.
Yeah.
People are a little more open to talk about it. And there's a lot of reports going around right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Digger says photos with a Canon R50 and a Shoulder Hero 9.
Sounds like when Digger goes out, he's prepared with his equipment.
Boy, I'm telling you, that stuff ain't cheap either.
No, none of that stuff is cheap anymore. Then when you start pulling out the thermal imagers and stuff, then you really start racking out the dollars.
Oh, yeah.
Drones.
Another thing I think is interesting, I'm a big fan of Audible, and I was listening to Dr. Meldrum's book the other day, and they were discussing the Patterson-Gimlin film and as to what speed it was shot on. And they said if it was shot on, I think it was 20 or 24 frames a second, that the gait that Patty had should be able to be replicated by a human.
Mm-hmm.
But if it had been filmed at a lower speed, anywhere between 16 and 18 frames a second, that it would not. And I forget who it was now, said that they had actually examined the film and they think it was shot at between 16 and 18 frames a second. So the gait would not be able to be replicated by a human.
Right.
It was pretty interesting stuff. Of course, I don't know if any of you guys have ever listened to Dr. Meldrum. He does an excellent speech when he talks about it.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's way over my head, but that doesn't take much.
It's hard. It's hard for somebody, of that caliber to, I guess I'll use the word dummy it down.
Oh yeah.
I'm not trying to offend anybody, but it's just, some of the words he uses are just, it's like, okay, Dr. Meldrum, did you just look that up in the dictionary and decide to use it tonight or what?
Oh, no, he comes up with some good ones. Sometimes I sit there and scratch my head pretty keen.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that I had got to see John Bindernagel when he was alive. I really respected him. He was another one too.
Yeah.
He had a lot of information.
Yeah, I got to meet him when we went to Washington years ago. He's an interesting fellow to talk to. And so is John Mayaninski. John Mayaninski is a very interesting guy to talk to also. Because he literally spends months in the woods, because he studied everything from, the mountain goats to you name it. And I mean, he's seen a lot of stuff. So.
Was he the one that actually used a domestic goat as a pack animal while he was out?
I'm not sure, Gary, but I wouldn't doubt it. So
I can remember reading a report, and I don't remember who it was. It was a naturalist somewhere, and it may have been him. I'm not for sure, but they used a domestic goat as a pack animal, and they had some bacon, and it had got warm inside the pack, and it had leaked onto his tent, and he said something that night was licking and pressing a hand on his tent. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I got a question here for y'all. What are your thoughts on Sasquatch preying on other predators when good sources are scarce? Or do you think they just find other areas, even traveling distances? I'll be honest, Mike, if I can kind of throw my 2 cents in, if you don't care there, Billy. I believe Sasquatch is an apex predator. I believe they'll prey on whatever's available. I've read a lot, especially down south, stories of them chasing hogs and killing hogs.
Yeah.
And a hog is not something you want to mess with. They're pretty rough.
Yeah.
I've heard a few accounts of Bigfoot and bears fighting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give too much credit to the bear. I believe old Bigfoot could take a bear pretty quick.
Yeah, probably.
Pretty quick. But yeah, I do believe that I believe they're pretty much, if it's in the area and they can eat it, I believe they're going to.
Yeah.
I don't know about the traveling distances.
Yeah, I think they're opportunists. They'll, hey, if there's some food available, whatever it is, even if they have to dig through a trash can, I don't think it much matters really.
No, lots of reports of dumpster diving Sasquatch too out there.
Yeah.
I think if it's close, they'll get into it. I know. I worked for. Kelly says here, as Mianinsky hit it on the nose. Spent the rest of the night by the fire. Yeah. Yep. That's what I would do too. And a very large one at that too.
Yeah.
That's always something that I say too, and I know everybody's probably getting tired of hearing it, but when you're out there in the woods, I usually have a firearm with me because there's stuff that is way more dangerous than Bigfoot in the woods. Yeah. And most of it is humans, but still, it's always better to be prepared.
Yeah. I remember when we went down to down near Paris, Texas, northeastern Texas, over Lake Mays.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's a lot of military ground right there around that lake. And before we were allowed to go on the property, we had to go and take a training class there so that they could tell you, if you see a piece of metal sticking out of the ground or whatever, just stay away from it, walk away from it, don't touch it, because apparently there's a lot of, what they call it, dud,
unexploded munitions.
Yeah. So they really instructed us. But the other thing they instructed us was the first thing you do when you go out into those woods is wherever you're going to spend your time, make sure that you find a nice tree that you can climb.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the hogs come, that's where you want to go, is in whatever tree you've picked, that you can climb. So
to get out of the way.
And let me tell you what, they wasn't kidding, because I remember that late one night, me and Tom were out there, and him and I were joking and laughing. I told him I was going to outrun him to a tree, and pigs are going to get him. But we heard them. I mean, they were out there fighting, squealing and everything, and they were getting closer and closer. I was like, well, Tom.
Yeah, it's about time.
About the time.
I know Digger's got another question here. Okay, what about the little people? There is a lot of native legends about the little people. Lots.
Yeah.
I think up in the Northwest they call them buckwas, I believe is what they call it. I know even the Cherokee had lots of stories about the little people where if you found something in the woods, if you found something, a basket, a knife, whatever, you had to tell the little people that you were taking it, and then you had to leave them something, some tobacco, a food offering, or something like that as trade for whatever you picked up. So yeah, I think there's a lot of stories. My father-in-law even kind of made a comment one time about little people. He worked at a mine prep plant and said that there'd been stories there of a 4 foot tall, hairy, naked man that would run around. So, yeah, I think there's a possibility. There's a possibility.
That might be one of them little people that just want some attention.
Yeah, well, yeah. That or, one of our local mountain hippies. You never really know.
It's like, come on, y'all. Why ain't you trying to film me?
Mike says rattlesnakes is on the menu. I'd say just about anything.
Yep.
Eric Altman. Hey, Eric.
How you doing?
Photo one last year. Let's see here what Digger says. Photo one last year, March, by accident. Man, Digger is in a spot, dude.
Yeah, Digger must be. That's a good point too, Mick. I think that again, Bigfoot is opportunist, and hey, if he doesn't have to hunt for his food,
Yeah, exactly.
Something does
I tell you, a big
favor.
thing too around here, I believe, is power line cuts.
Yes,
Where they actually go through the woods.
Yeah.
I believe that's a big travel area.
That's
myself.
where I casted. My first print was on a power line cut.
We've got some good ones too. I'm talking about miles and miles and miles.
Miles of it, yes. Yeah, we got a lot here that just run through multiple counties. You could just go forever. So
Yeah. There's a lot. And you hear a lot of roadside sightings too, and I think that may have a lot to do with it, trying to pick up some roadkill.
Yeah. I don't know, Eric. Sure. Yeah.
Would you stand in the way of what Bigfoot wants to eat? No.
That's probably no wiser than standing between a mama bear and its cub.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree. Eric says let him have whatever he wants, so long as it's not me, he can have it.
Yeah.
If it's me, there may be some trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, Mike has a good point there. Mike says, I think they're intelligent enough to put 2 and 2 together and know that cars, trucks results in roadkill.
Absolutely.
Agree with you.
Absolutely.
100% agree with you. I know with the dumpster diving thing, like one of my personal theories is that Bigfoot and black bears share a lot of the same food sources, a lot of the same territory and everything. And I worked for the Virginia Department of Corrections for about 14 years. And at one of the prisons that I worked at in Buchanan County, Virginia, we had 2 big grease traps that came from the kitchen area.
Mm-hmm.
And they were stored outside behind one of the security towers. And the grease would be put into large 55-gallon drums. And we had probably one of the biggest sow black bear I've ever seen in my life. She would come over and just take one paw and knock the lid off that thing and spend hours licking that grease out of there.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I'd say that. And restaurant trash, any of that stuff.
Absolutely.
Especially like in some of these more remote areas, out west, there's a lot of small restaurants that are way out of the way.
Yeah.
So I'd say, yeah, that'd probably be a real good source.
Yeah. For all those late coming in, just so everyone's aware, Craig Woolheater is having flash flooding and power outages down there in Texas. So we've rescheduled him to next Monday. And of course, I'm in a remote location taking care of my mom. So we're just kind of having roundtable type discussions here tonight. So apologize that we're not, a little more prepared, but that's all right. Nothing wrong with having a show that's unprepared every now and then.
We'll make it work. We'll make it work.
Yeah, that's easy to make work.
I know right now I'm at the campground. I volunteer with the Corps of Engineers, so I actually have to come home to do the show because there's like no cell signal or nothing down there.
Yeah.
But at one time, when I was a little more able, I'd get out and I'd do a lot of exploring around, some of the campground areas. And I found a pile of rocks one time that was perfectly positioned north-south. And as I was looking at the rocks, I was using my compass and I was like, that is dead on the money, north-south.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to looking, and there was a game trail that followed that same path. And it was a pretty good-sized game trail.
Mm-hmm.
And I've often wondered if that was a human that left that or not, because there's actually been a few sightings down in the campground where I'm at.
Yeah.
So that's a good question for everybody in the chat tonight. Do you think Bigfoot leaves trail markers?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Marking trails.
All right, I'm gonna leave y'all for a second, and I'll be back. I just got to go check on my mom.
Take care of her, Billy.
Mm-hmm.
We got this. I know it's a trying time right now for everybody, and I'm sorry that we don't have our guest on tonight, but you can't help the weather. But hopefully we can get through it and everything will be all right. Mike says it is still better than Blog Talk Radio. I used to try to listen to it, Mike, and we had dial-up at the time. It was rough. Things have come a long way since the Blog Talk days. Or Mick, I'm sorry, Mick. Things have advanced a long way since the old Blog Talk ways. Kelly allows there's lots of power outages in Texas. Kelly, I hope you guys are okay. Just stay safe. That's the main thing. I know we've had some pretty big floods here in recent history here. Different than we've had in a long time. We had a catastrophic flood in 1977. That was probably the biggest flood I have ever seen. But we've had some that's done quite a bit of damage since then. They said last year we had some straight line winds, but I'm pretty sure it might have been a tornado. Kelly says she was without about 10 hours one day and 7 hours the other night. Yep, weather is definitely rough. Okay, Mick here. Mick says Sasquatch might leave their own trail markers, but I suspect they're just more familiar with the area they frequent until they move on to another area. That's a good point. I know a lot of people talk about the bent trees where they have the L formation in the trees. That was actually an Indian marker for a trail marker. A lot of natives did that. And I've heard some of that's been linked to Sasquatch as well. Kind of makes you wonder. So, we have, like I said, with a larger deer population, we have quite a few hunters in the area. And I wonder if maybe they might be leaving some trail markers so they know which way they're going. And if anybody has any questions in the chat, please just send them out and I'll do the best that I can to answer or give you my opinion, which I've been told is not worth much, but we'll try anyway.
All right, I'm back.
Hello, Billy.
I am back. She's in good shape.
Good deal. I'm glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Mike just sent us an answer on the trail marker thing there. I'll put it up so you can see it, Billy.
Okay.
He says Sasquatch might leave their own trail markers, but he suspects they're more familiar with areas that they frequent.
Yeah, I've kind of thought the same thing. I thought about it. That's their habitat. That's their home. So it's like us. We can turn the light out in our house, turn all the lights out, and we could probably navigate our house.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably can do the same. So
I'm kind of torn between he was talking about until they move on to another area. I'm kind of torn between that because I do kind of think that they might migrate.
Yeah.
But it may be also just like a deer has a set home area that they use.
Right.
And it's, probably 10 square miles. And elk have an even bigger area. And, I just wonder if maybe that's just kind of their area. Mick says he's skeptical of bent trees and branches. Deer and moose have been straddling trees to get edible buds. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, bear will do that too. They'll somewhat climb the tree, bend it over.
I know one of the big things right now that's coming in are the raspberries, and I'm kind of, I'm hoping to get some good raspberries this year. Another thing that we have back here is pawpaws. I don't know if anybody's familiar with pawpaws, but as soon as they start hitting the ground in early September, boy, the deer absolutely wear those little pawpaw patches out.
Oh, I bet.
They are everywhere. Another good question for the chat there, people. We've heard several stories throughout the years of Bigfoot fishing. What do you think? You think Bigfoot might be utilizing more than just land-based animals? I know Tom Seawood, he's a native from up north. He talks about them eating cockles, how they'll dig the cockles and leave the shells stacked up. I think that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Like I said, it kind of falls back into bear. Bears will dig clams and cockles and things like that. So what do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yep. Kelly says fish, mussels, and frogs. I believe that, Kelly. I really do. That's the thing, you can take the risk of chasing a deer and missing it, or you can grab some frogs pretty easy and get several of them pretty quick. It don't take long.
Yep.
It doesn't take long.
Not at all.
Which kind of brings up another thing. Let's see what Digger says here. They're not dumb, and I don't think they're just an animal with what has happened with me. I'm going to tell you, I've got to be honest. I am really impressed with the intelligence of Sasquatch. It seems to me like, the harder you try, the harder it is to find because he knows. And I think that may have a lot to do with, just like you said, you turn the lights off in your house and you can navigate it pretty good. You got somebody in there running around with flashlights and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mick says there's been a number of credible sightings along the coast of British Columbia of Sasquatch digging clams and cockles. Yeah. I've heard, like I said, several. Tom Seawood, like I said, he puts a real good turn on the native stories about it. He really does.
Well, I look at it like this too, Gary. Some of these things, we as humans like to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Clams and, crayfish.
Cockles.
Yeah.
Crawdads or frog legs. It's been a long time since I had fried frog legs. Boy, I used to love those. Yeah, I believe. Mick says you have to gain Digger Dog says you have to gain the trust. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, it's like any animal.
That kind of leads a lot to the habitations too. You know, I'm a little leery of habitations because a lot of people leave food and things like that, and I don't really think that that's a good thing. Because I mean, it might be good until something happens that you run out of whatever you're feeding them, and then you may have a
problem,
1,000-pound problem coming at you. Let's see what Jay says here. He hunted where he had his encounter for a year and not a sound or a bent tree or anything. One cane hut. One that was in front of me. Jay, was it large? Was it small? Do you think it may have been?
I remember he said it moved pretty quick. I do remember that.
The cane hut I was talking about. Do you think was it large? Was it small? Do you think it may have been humans that did it, as maybe possibly a hunting blind? Huge, Jay says. That's what I'm talking about right there. That really kind of level things out. If you're using a hunting blind, it's not going to be huge.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Let's see here. Digger says, keep hitting the same areas as much as you can.
Yeah.
Been locked out of my local area for the past 4 years. Yeah.
I agree with that 100% because if you frequent an area, everything gets to used to you being there.
Yep.
Just like
I know a lot.
Normal habitat.
A lot of hunters, they're big on you don't use the restroom in your hunting area. You don't smoke. You don't use tobacco products or anything in your hunting area. But I'm kind of different, and I've had some pretty close encounters with, the animals that I hunt, deer and things like that. I think the more used that they are to your smells and your movement and things like that, the better interactions that you're going to have with them. And as far as Digger says, hitting the same areas, I think that's important too. Like I said, the more they get used to seeing you there, especially if they realize you're not a threat, I think.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Jay says, it's maybe 4 to 5 foot opening in a cane forest and a local creek, hard area to get to. Yeah, that kind of narrows down. We don't have a lot of river cane here, but we've got some of it. And that stuff, when it grows, it is thick.
Oh, yeah, and it just takes off.
Yeah, it is thick. In a 4 to 5 foot opening. That's pretty big.
Yep.
That is pretty big. That's impressive, Jake. That's impressive. I know we found that one up Spotsylvania. I'm pretty sure that was some type of habitation there where the bark had been stripped from all those trees. And we found it underneath those deadfall trees that had blown over.
Yeah.
Something that carried all that bark from those cedars back in there and put it out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty interesting too. I've heard this a lot too. Digger says way too often the kids have played pranks on me during the day.
Yeah.
Heard a lot of stories about juveniles messing with campers, and they'll mess with your tent, mess with your food.
Yeah.
I know one of my, and I've listened to them a million times. I'm fascinated with the Sierra sounds. And one thing I always thought was pretty cool was when they tried to mimic what noises the Sasquatch was making. You can hear the Sasquatch laugh. I always thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Got a question here from Mick. Another question. I've wondered about this. I'm wondering about is whether Sasquatch eats any type of plants, herbs, rotten fruit, and getting high. Elves do that, and other animals do too. Yes, I think kind of. Yeah, I actually do. Deer will hit apple orchards and things like that when the fruit's falling, and you'll see them laying there, or they'll eat that fermented fruit and get good and buzzed up and pass out, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of animals that do that.
I've seen squirrel do that too. Squirrel eat something that's and it's just hilarious watching because they just chase their tails. And
bees are another one too. As far as the insects go, I've seen bees working rotten fruit and they'll just eventually fall over. And it's pretty interesting. Digger says, get it up here. Wood knocks, it rang my ears, and about 1.5 miles later, sound like a 22 long rifle from a ridge, a few yards away. Digger, do you think that was somebody maybe shooting to try to run them off, or do you think that might have been Sasquatch making that noise?
Yeah, I remember we were talking to Michael Mays last week. Remember he was talking about that banging noise.
Yeah.
And then, we kind of had gotten into that discussion, like that you had that discussion about, could they be clapping their hands or
I've heard that from a couple different people, hand claps, chest slaps, which that's pretty prominent, ape behavior.
Yeah.
Digger says, no one to Bigfoot. And he's got it on video. That's pretty cool. I'm going to have to start following Digger around and just picking up his leftovers. That cat's on it right there. I know my wife's uncle, he's deaf. He was deaf. He's passed away now. And him and his son and another guy went up to a local area here called Birch Knob, and they were just kind of looking around, looking for maybe, old native habitat, arrowheads, whatever.
Yeah.
And they had a series of rock clacking. And they answered it back with some rock clacks of their own and got several responses back.
Yeah.
Where that's at, Birch Knob, when you get up on top of the mountain up there, we have an overlook. It used to be an old fire tower up there, and you can actually see 5 states from the top of that. Just directly over one railing is Kentucky. That's where the Kentucky line is. And you can see Ohio, West Virginia, Tennessee. It's pretty incredible. It's a beautiful place if you can walk the 186 steps to get up there.
Yeah.
And they ain't short steps either, brother, let me tell you. Digger says, need to come and see, brother. I tell you what, I'd love to. I'd love to. Northern California is a really interesting place.
Because you got Northern California right there. You got Oregon right there.
Yeah.
Washington. All right.
And it's really different. It's really different than Southern California.
Yeah.
It's hot and dry in Southern California, but man, when you get up north, things really change. Really, really change. Pretty quick too. It's a more temperate, a lot more rain, more forestation. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
California is a huge state too.
Yeah.
You really can't appreciate it until, you're actually there. But California and the mountains in California, I come from the mountains. And I always thought, we had these big, huge, majestic mountains until I went to California and I saw what a real mountain looked like. And, we've got some hills is what we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
California definitely has the mountains. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. Digger, have you you've been working the same area for quite a while where you've had all these sightings and things at?
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting, Digger. Very interesting. That does not surprise me one bit. Not surprise me one bit. Yeah, hunting with hounds. That's quite popular around here too. A lot of people use walkers and plot hounds right now back here.
Yeah.
Not something I'd like to bear hunt, but all the bears we have around here are they're pretty much trash bears, and that doesn't make for the best eating at all.
No, and that's pretty much what we have here. You know, I just got to thinking, you know, talking about areas and sightings and stuff, and there's some stories I've heard from a few locals here, Rappahannock County. They swear up and down that there's one that visits the landfill out here. So Janine, my wife, she was up at the dump one day, and she was over there talking to the guy that runs the place. And, you know, she happened to ask him if he's seen anything, you know, over strange, you know, and he says, oh, yeah, we get bear up here eating, you know, trying to get stuff all the time. She goes, well, what about the ones that are on two legs upright? And the guy looked at her and started laughing. And, but there's one lady that lives over near that thing, and she swears up and down that there's one that goes in there, but also it'll come over to her property, and she's got a barn where she has horses, and she says they'll tear that barn up. And she swears there's one out there, but the guy that's running the landfill, you know, thinks we're all nuts.
Yeah. Like I said, it's all fun and games till that sucker walks across the road in front of you.
Yeah.
That would change your mind quick, or it did for me anyway.
Yeah. So, and these are all supposedly very recent. You know, I just need to find the lady so I can talk to her.
Landfill, I think that would be a prime location. It's easy. You know, it's easy pickings.
Yeah. And it's easy for them to get in and out of that particular landfill because it's surrounded by woods. I mean, this thing's got an exit plan anywhere it goes. So,
yep. And I think too, that's another thing too.
It's actually not a landfill. You know, landfill's the wrong word, Gary. It's a transfer station. So they have all the boxes lined up.
Yep. And
then they come and take them to the real landfill and bring a clean box back.
Well, cleanish, I'm going to say. Yeah. I know we put in a lot of bear-proof. We have a bear-proof dumpster in the campground right now, and I'm not 100% convinced that it's really bear-proof because it has a pull pin that you pull out of it and then you just push it. It ain't gonna be long before they figure that out.
Look. When you watch all these videos of bear going up to these minivans and pulling that handle and that door comes open, they know how to get in. I mean, they're smart too. Bears are smart. And they're curious, and they will 100%. Find a way.
100%. Mick brought up a good one right here. Says, imagine walking out to the sound of your trash bins getting knocked over, expecting raccoons, but finding a Sasquatch.
Go out there with a stick. I'm going to hit you, and then look up.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
I think I'm just going to go back in the house.
I'll put my baseball bat back in the house.
Me and my wife.
You want to use, just hand it to him. Say, here, you want to use this for your next wood knot?
Yeah. Me and my wife have lived here at our house for 20 plus years, and we've never had any bear trouble until the other night. And that Jasper took one bag of trash out of the bottom of our trash can. And I heard the trash can rattling. I didn't know what it was, so when I went out to check it out, I grabbed a small pistol, and I went out to check it out. I couldn't see nothing. And I could hear something moving, so I was looking around by my building, and the bear huffed at me. Just one time real quick. Whoa. By the time it did that, I eased back in the house, and I shut the door. I went and got a flashlight and a bigger pistol.
Yeah, right.
I'm taking no chances.
Yeah.
I know.
One thing's for sure, they like to be destructive too. If they want something, they'll destroy something to get it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And you take something as big as a Sasquatch. I don't think that there's anything, and as smart as a Sasquatch.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that you could do to stop it if it wanted it.
No.
Padlocks or anything, I'm pretty sure they can just pull that right off myself.
Believe it or not, Gary, we just hit an hour.
Oh, wow. That was quick. That was quick.
So even if we don't have a guest, it flies by. All right. So I guess what we'll do. So everybody we'll have Craig Woolheater on next Monday. Hopefully there won't be no storms going through Texas. We'll have him on next Monday. And then we're still working on some guest list of some other folks to get on. And so I'll update the YouTube channel and the website as soon as I can. I've got my wife bringing me my laptop, so I should be able to do a little bit of work. Mick, no, I have not heard from Bruce. I talked to that dude a couple months ago. I know he's still going to events because he showed up in an event. But other than that, he doesn't talk very much. So thank you, Tennessee. I appreciate that. Kind of a hard thing to deal with, but we'll get through it. So I want to thank everybody. All of our usual listeners were here. Love you guys. And
the show won't work without you.
Yep.
Billy, it's always good to be here, pal.
Yep. I appreciate you being here too. And thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it. And you guys have a wonderful rest of the week, and hopefully I'll see you next Monday. If something comes up, we'll let you know early. But until then, y'all have a good night. And Gary, I'll be back on here in just a second.
All right, Billy.
Let me see if I can figure out how to
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.